Hi, welcome to my presentation for BMED19006 Nutrition and Practice. These are the topics I'll be going over in this presentation. As you can see, they vary quite a lot, and yeah. The 24-hour food recall's first topic. This is just an overview of the information I gathered from the recall. I won't go through every piece of dot point individually, but just there so you can have a look at it and get an idea of the person's recall. The recall was conducted on a 20-year-old female who is a university student living on the residential college in Rockhampton. Overall, I thought it wasn't a bad recall, possibly lacking in some fruit. Main issue encountered from the recall was determining the serving sizes, which comes from living at the residential college and not preparing their own food, and also knowing some of the exact ingredients that are used, which for the same reason, not preparing their own food. This data could be used for a brief overview of the individual's intake, but with the variation which occurs on the residential college, it would be more beneficial for a longer recall method, so a 72-hour recall or a 5 to 7 day food diary. Top body fatness and fertility. The focus of this topic was on body weight in relation to the onset of puberty. It's been suggested that a high body weight can lead to early onset of puberty in females. It's also been suggested that there may be the same effects in males, however, there has been very little research into this. High-risk pregnancies and iodine during pregnancy. 1/3 of all pregnancies are complicated by maternal overweight or obesity. The majority of interventions used in this case focus on limiting the mother's weight gain during the pregnancy and not focusing on their dietary intake or their physical activity levels. In most cases, I believe that it may be more beneficial for dietary intake and physical activity to be monitored more closely, and interventions to involve at least one of these. I feel I'd be more likely to achieve better results, and rather than just the broader weight management guidelines that currently exist. Iodine supplementation has been found to increase the developmental scores in young children by 10 to 20%, and iodine deficient populations have been found to have on average a reduction of IQ of 12 to 13.5 points. And the fortifying of household salt with iodine has occurred since the 1920s, which is in Switzerland, and it was used to control various thyroid conditions. Epigenetics and the developmental origins of disease. It's been found that genes are not necessarily the driving force of development. Signals from the mother indicating things such as the availability of nutrients and any stresses present has been found to also impact the development. Birth weight is a common measure used to examine newborns. It's been found that the birth weight of children in lower socioeconomic classes is lower than that of higher socioeconomic classes, and it's been suggested that fetal growth rate could be set at an early stage of gestation and could be in part determined by the nutrition of the mother before pregnancy. Birth weight has been observed as a possible indicator for cardiovascular disease, blood pressure, and type 2 diabetes. This has led to the idea that by the time adulthood has been reached, it may be too late to prevent these sorts of issues. However, good nutrition and exercise have also been shown to reduce the risk of these conditions, while also helping with the management of the conditions in people already suffering from them. This suggests that while fetal nutrition is important, it's not the only determining factor in the onset of these diseases. Good nutrition will help an individual suffering from these diseases, but if fetal nutrition also plays a part in a child's development, a parent having good nutrition will help ensure that the child is well prepared for later life and minimising that risk of the diseases occurring. Breastfeeding in Australia. The breastfeeding rates in Australia can vary significantly between different areas of local government. It's also been found that breastfeeding in public is commonly associated with doing the wrong thing. One study used a survey which found that a quarter of respondents considered it wrong for a baby to be breastfed in a restaurant or cafe. However, the benefits of breastfeeding have been well documented. These include a reduction in the gastrointestinal and respiratory diseases, improved developmental and educational outcomes, and also a reduced risk of maternal breast and ovarian cancers. Breastfeeding rates have also been found to vary depending upon the population group. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders have been found less likely to breastfeed, while lower socioeconomic classes are also less likely to breastfeed. School nutrition and childhood obesity. My personal opinion on school nutrition is that the responsibility falls primarily on the parents. However, schools also need to play a part in promoting healthy eating education. In the case of tuck shops, I feel that there should be a limitation on what schools are able to serve. However, in the case of packed lunches, I believe the responsibility should fall solely on the parents. My own personal experience about school nutrition is that my high school ran a breakfast program most mornings for students who were unable to have breakfast before getting to school. This allowed them to still have something to eat before school started, which I feel was an excellent idea. Onto childhood obesity. Declining physical activity levels in children is seen as a major contributor to childhood obesity levels. But physical activity only plays a small part in managing childhood obesity. Nutrition is also important. For example, at sporting events, food supply is often often junky food such as lollies, soft drinks, chips, along with your sausage rolls and meat pies and that sort of thing. And in the case of sports, parents might believe that since the child has exercised, it will be okay for them to eat these kinds of food. However, if a child is playing multiple sports on multiple nights of a week, if they're eating these foods every night, it will have a negative effect on them still. Adolescent health and health risk behaviours. This topic I was able to reflect upon my own health during my adolescence, primarily through high school. During this time I was very physically active, playing and training for sport basically every night of the week, often playing 5 games of basketball in a week and training every other night. However, once I completed high school, my physical activity levels dropped. However, my nutrition, which was always somewhat poor during high school, remained the same. This resulted in an increase in my body weight, and my light bulb moment came when I discovered that I'd gotten over 100 kilos. It's also been suggested that parents can play a large role in the development and maintenance of adolescent overweight and obesity levels, along with their physical activity levels. In my case, this is somewhat true. My parents always encouraged physical activity and made sure that me and my siblings were all physically active. However, while they tried to maintain good nutrition for us, it wasn't as big of a priority as what being physically active was, and I am starting to see similar traits in myself. Overweight and obesity. In a perfect world, excess body weight would be primarily a health concern rather than a body image issue, but unfortunately this is not the case. A model of body image and eating disturbances has been developed which suggests that there are three major social and cultural factors which influence body image and eating. These are parents, peers, and the media. It's my personal belief that body image is the primary motivation for people to lose weight. It would be more difficult for people to maintain their weight loss if they have this mindset, because oftentimes they'll have a goal weight in mind, and once they've reached this they will revert back to their poor old habits, whether that's less exercise or poor eating habits, while a person with health goals may be more likely to maintain these good habits because they need to maintain it because they know they need it to keep their good health. It's also been found that body image goals may also lead to the use of unhealthy weight control methods such as low fat, low carbohydrate diets, the use of laxatives, celebrity diets, or gastric banding. It's also believed that an individual's beliefs on body weight may be molded by various factors such as age. As you age, people's perspectives may change. For example, if a person suffers a heart attack or gets diabetes, etc., they may be more likely to change their perspective because they need to change their diet, lose weight for health reasons. It's also believed that the environment during childhood may affect an individual's views. If they grow up in a household where diet and exercise aren't encouraged, they'll most likely have the same views when they're older. Caloric restriction and the aging process. Caloric restriction is the only intervention which is non-genetic and has been consistently shown to slow the intrinsic aging of mammals. It's a reduction in an individual's caloric intake while maintaining their essential nutrient requirements. So basically eating less, but still getting all their required nutrients each day. Research in animal studies has found an increase in the maximum lifespan of approximately 30 to 40%. However, at this stage, no long-term studies have been conducted on human subjects. However, there have been a minimal number of short-term studies on humans. There's been found to be multiple psychological and physiological and biomechanical responses to this sort of diet. These include the prevention of some age-related diseases such as cardiovascular disease, cancers, diabetes, neurodegenerative diseases, and autoimmune disorders. However, if the restriction is not done correctly, there has also been found to be multiple health risks such as excessive weight loss, hypotension, bone thinning, osteoporosis, cold sensitivity, loss of strength and stamina, lower wound healing, and psychological conditions. My personal view on the topic is that it may be an effective short-term program. However, due to the possible risks if it's not conducted correctly, I feel that long-term it may not be beneficial. Because you must be careful to avoid the risks that may occur. In the case of older adults, it would be important to make sure it doesn't take away from their functionality, so they don't have that loss in strength or loss of stamina if it's not done correctly, because it's still important to maintain their quality of life, not just their quantity of life, especially maintaining their functionality and some sort of form of independence in later life. The impact on my learning of these discussion topics. I've had an overview of a large variety of topics. many of which I would not commonly look into myself in a lot of depth. It introduced me to some new topics such as the caloric restriction, while also introducing me to some nutritional assessment methods such as the 24-hour recall, and made me look at other methods such as the 72-hour and food diaries. I've also been able to reflect on my own eating habits while I was a child and during my adolescence, and some areas of the topics I might be able to use in an exercise science profession, such as the nutritional assessments and caloric restriction. And it's also allowed me to consider the perspective and opinions of other people, especially looking at the other information people have found. It's been made it easier to learn and get the views of other people. And finally, just a reference list from where I got some of my information for this presentation. That's all. Thank you.